Hello and welcome to another brand new episode of Dingers and Stingers, the podcast whose favorite teams won exactly as many football games as they possibly could this week. So, you know what? Uh, that's all we'll say about that until we talk about it later. I'm Dallas, that's Drew, that's Matt, and on this week's episode, of our NFL episode here, we are going to talk about uh, as we normally do, we're going to talk about Rams and Seahawks. We're going to talk about the Chiefs. We're going to talk about whether or not we think that it may be over for them. We're going to talk about we're going to go into fan corner, talk about the Broncos, talk a little bit about more about Rams and Seahawks. We're going to make some predictions, talk about our predictions from last week. Lots to do on this NFL episode. We'll also talk about Shedeur Sanders a little bit. He made his first regular season NFL appearance. So,
Dun, dun,
yeah,
dun.
packed show today. But first, as we always do on our NFL episode, we want to take you through the results from week 11 real quick, just in case you were sleeping. And so let us go around the league in 20 seconds and give you the winners and losers from week 11. So here we go. The winners are the Patriots, Dolphins, Steelers, Jaguars, Bills, Bears, Texans, Panthers, Packers, 49ers, Rams, Ravens, Broncos, Eagles, and Cowboys. The losers are the Jets, the Commanders, Bengals, Chargers, Buccaneers, Vikings, Titans, Falcons, Giants, Cardinals, Seahawks, Browns, Chiefs, Lions, and Raiders. So there you go. If you missed it, that's who won, that's who lost in week 11. What a week 11 it was. Some really good games, some really, high intensity, big offensive showdowns, some really high stress defensive showdowns. We'll talk about a couple of those later, but just generally, week 11, how are we feeling? Where are we at as far as the NFL at large is concerned? Do we kind of know who's who? What has week 11 helped us figure out here?
Yeah, dude, I feel like even take out the like bias from this week. This game was stacked with like really high like tension games in terms of like, or I should say high stakes, right? Like we saw multiple teams with winning records and division winners and all sorts of stuff like that playing each other. Um, and it was really exciting. I mean, I feel like I've been, a broken record the last few weeks talking about football feels weird the last few weeks, and some of these games just feel off and whatnot. This week felt like the NFL. Like it felt like the games mattered. It felt like there was high intensity. We're seeing fights and suspensions. We're seeing high scoring games. We're seeing defensive games. Like we really just saw it all this week. Um, and then letting a little bit of the podcast bias in, our three teams had really great, fun games this weekend. Um, so yeah, I mean, great stuff across the NFL in my book.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I feel like maybe this season, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it feels like there's a lot less of just like these blowout wins or even these shootouts. Like it's a lot of like low scoring, kind of trudging through games, and I felt like this weekend wasn't necessarily that different in that sense, but there was like a lot of excitement all around. These games mattered. They mattered to the fans watching them, and a lot of close games and a lot of important snaps. And yeah, it was a fun week.
Yep, no doubt. Starting with someone here, now that and let's get into some specific, parts of the action here. Someone who wishes they could have had a better week, maybe, was the fifth round quarterback who came in for the Cleveland Browns in his first regular season NFL action. This is Shedeur Sanders, came in for Dylan Gabriel when he left the game with a concussion. Usually players are not able to clear concussion protocol before the next game they play if that happens in the middle of a game. But we'll see how Dylan Gabriel goes. But as far as this game goes, Shedeur Sanders came in and it was a little bit less than stellar, to say the least. He was 4 for 16 with 47 yards and one interception, no touchdowns. He came into the game. The Browns were up 16-10. This was early in the third quarter. They lost the game 23-16 after he came in. Um, Looked up a lot of that. He doesn't stop the other team from scoring points, that's for sure. But he would be the one in charge of sort of maintaining that lead, and he wasn't able to get it done. So, any takeaways that are significant from him coming in the middle of the game here before we talk about what might be in store for the next week or two?
Yeah, I mean, I think the big note is a lot of the issues that people had with him pre-draft as a player, not as a person, I think showed up in this game, right? He, to my knowledge, from what I saw, he had, I believe, a 4.24 seconds from snap to throw in this game. That was an issue he had in college, as he would hold the ball, he would take unnecessary sacks, and his offensive line would get blamed. And, come to the NFL, what does he do? He holds onto the ball and he can't complete his passes. He's staring down receivers. He's taking hits. It looks like a lot of the issues he had as a player in college are right here front and center for him as a rookie. And that's not to say those things can't change. That's not to say that he can't get those fixed, can't get better. But what that is saying to me is that he is, maybe he was drafted correctly, right? All of us. And if you didn't predict this, you're a liar. All of us thought, despite what we thought of him as a player and a person, that he was going to be a high draft pick. He wasn't. And clearly, there were reasons for that outside of just the media storm that comes with him. But a really tough first showing. And Kevin Stefanski came out and was like, this was his first time ever getting snaps with the starters. Dude, Justin Herbert, his rookie season, after Tyrod Taylor gets attempted murder against him by a team doctor, comes in
Mhm.
with 0 snaps against, with the starters, and he balls out against the Chiefs. Like, it's just one of those things. Sometimes that really doesn't matter. You're playing football. Like, at the end of the day, you're playing football. You have to have the correct mindset. You have to have the timing. You have to have the mechanics. If you are sloppy in any of those places, the NFL is going to punish you for it. Like, very few guys get away with having bad mechanics, bad timing, etc. And usually those are the guys that we call Superman because they are able to do things that no one else can. You see it across the league right now, but tough showing for Shedeur for sure. Like it wasn't good.
Yeah, you took a little bit of what I was going to say away from me because I was kind of going to give that take of like it's his first time. Like I'm not. I think two things can be true. I am not
Mhm.
high on Shedeur Sanders as a quarterback in the NFL, and I don't think this game is a good indication of what he's going to be in the NFL. Good or bad. Like it's just so bad. Like, is he going to be that bad every time he goes out? I doubt it. I bet he'll get a little better at least.
Yeah.
Um, tough, tough gig. Anytime you just have to go in because someone got hurt. I was going to specifically bring up Justin Herbert and say most people are not Justin Herbert. That was. There's a reason there was such a mind
Sure.
blowing reaction to that game is because like holy shit, he just like found out 5 minutes before the game he had to start and he did that. Um, that being said, this was awful. Just it's bad. And
Yeah.
and as we go into next week, um, I don't anticipate it being significantly better. So where does that leave the Browns?
Yeah, so let's talk about the next couple weeks here. So, like I mentioned, concussion protocol, especially for a quarterback, is pretty hard to clear because they really take a lot of care these days to make sure that the player is 100% ready to go, kind of outside the risk of like doubling the damage, basically. If they should get hit in the head again. So it's hard for quarterbacks to clear that because they do go down a lot and things like that. And so we see C.J. Stroud. Uh, is he who I'm thinking of? There's somebody I'm thinking of who's in concussion protocol right now. Maybe it's
Yeah,
CJ Stroud.
yeah,
CJ Stroud's in concussion protocol.
Yeah. So I'm thinking about CJ Stroud. Davis Mills has played a lot of games now. He has not been able to clear that. And so um, ostensibly, we can assume that it'll be, at least for next week, Shedeur Sanders again. And so they have the Raiders in week 12. The Browns have the Raiders in week 12. The Raiders are terrible. And, at some point, maybe in the next couple of weeks while they're still, um, time enough to talk about, maybe we'll talk about the Raiders at some point because I have to do some crow eating perhaps on the Raiders. I thought they'd be better than this. And so, trying to take a look at what happened there, but this is not about the Raiders. So all that to say, the Raiders are not very good. And so what do we think he might look like when he has a full week of practice? How he's supposed to? How do you like his chances over a full game against a weak opponent like the Raiders?
Um, I mean, when yes, the Raiders are terrible. Let's get that out of the way. There should be opportunity for him to throw the ball with success. The Browns should be able to run the ball, which obviously takes a huge amount of pressure off of him. The one thing I'll say that you can't like, discount is the Raiders get after the quarterback. Max Crosby alone puts up a team's worth of pressures every game. And this, it's kind of a recipe for potential disaster when you have a quarterback who, once again, is holding onto the ball for an average of over 4 seconds, almost 4.5 seconds from snap to throw. That is a recipe for disaster with a guy like Max Crosby. So, do I think he's going to have more success? Yes. Do I think that there's going to be potentially some big plays in terms of that aspect of the game? Yes. I expect this to actually be a pretty close game, personally, just because I don't think either team's going to get it going on offense. Um, but we'll see. I mean, maybe Shedeur pulls it off and has his first win. I can't imagine it's heavily due to his doing. They have a good run game there, so we'll see. But yeah, that you know that time to release is something I will always come back to with quarterbacks because it plagues young quarterbacks so much. And we always talk about like these young guys don't sling it around like they used to. But one of the other things that the old guys did, the old heads, they were getting the ball out in like 2.4 seconds, 2.2 seconds. You look at Jimmy G, you look at Tom Brady, you look at Aaron Rodgers. I hate that I started with Jimmy G, but he is really famous for this. And, there's all these guys, and they were snap to release sub 2.5, 2.6 seconds. And there's a reason that they never took sacks. They were able to get the ball in the hands of playmakers, and they led these efficient and often explosive offenses. And it's because you can limit what a pass rusher can actually do if you just get the ball out of your hands. Like at the end of the day, that's the best way to avoid taking sacks. Get the ball out of your hand. And so I am worried for Shedeur, is what I'll end with there.
yeah. I mean, I'll echo what you said in just simpler terms. The Take Shedeur Sanders out of the equation. The Raiders, for all their faults, can get to the quarterback, as you said.
Mhm.
The Browns currently, per Pro Football Focus, have the 32nd ranked offensive line in football, and those keeping count at home, that is last place of any NFL team. I
Hmm.
just don't imagine this goes well for anyone involved in this game. Like this is going to be one of those ugly games that we get every now and again. But yeah, I don't think with everything that Matt said and this Browns offensive line, the Raiders defensive line, Shedeur Sanders' lack of experience, a tendency to hold on to the football too long, I just don't see this being it's an uphill climb to have a good game out of Shedeur Sanders at any point this season, but especially this first one out of the gate, even against a team with a terrible record like the Raiders, I just don't see it going well.
Yeah, any NFL team for a guy playing for the first time in the NFL in a regular season game is a tough climb. So especially when you have guys on the defensive line that look like that and are very scary coming at you. There will be some mental hurdles to climb for him going into the game and then all throughout. Not to mention, the physical parts of it that maybe people thought he didn't measure up quite like it. But I'll ask you one last question before we move on to our next topic. Is the Browns starting quarterback next year in the building?
They have so many warm bodies. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, logic would tell you no, and at the same time, the Browns have never been a team of logic. Um, so I don't know, man. They got rid of the number cruncher himself. They let him go to where to go? The Rockies. Moneyball. Yeah, they
Yeah,
got rid of
yeah.
Moneyball, so
Hmm.
maybe they'll go back to
Yeah.
using logic rather than numbers and analytics. But numbers and analytics led them to do a lot of dumb stuff. They are famously the team that traded for Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson is literally on this football team
I was gonna say
right
he
now.
might be like he would be my betting favorite.
Legitimately, legitimately, he might be the starting quarterback next year. And yet, should they be taking a quarterback with their first pick? Probably. But what are they going to give him? A depleted offensive line, a bunch of, kind of journeyman receivers, two tight ends, and a pass rusher. Like, it's not a great situation for anybody to step into, and yet they need to address the quarterback situation because at this point they're either throwing in the towel next year already or going with Deshaun Watson, which is just the worst thing you can do, or they draft a quarterback. So I don't know, man. I don't know how to answer that. That's a tough one.
I think what I would say is if he is in the building, then I think it is Deshaun Watson. Because I don't think it's going to be Sanders and I don't think it's going to be Dylan Gabriel. Um, I mean, that's not out of the realm of possibilities, of course, but this team this team just needs so much that any
Mhm.
quarterback's not going to fix it, especially like a first round rookie. Like would we legitimately feel good about any first round quarterback going to the Browns? Like I don't think we would feel like he's set up for success. Um, so I kind of hope they don't go that route. I kind of liked how they signed, Joe Flacco. That was like the kind of move that I think makes more sense. And then of course they drafted two rookies anyways, and traded Flacco away. They're a directionless team. We've talked about it before. I have no idea what direction they're going to head because they're sporadic. They don't forecast their moves like that. And I gotta say, thank you for giving up on Baker Mayfield because I really like that guy, and
Mhm.
now he can succeed somewhere else.
Yeah,
100%.
and succeeding he is, with the team he's with. Yeah, so Browns are going to Browns. We'll see how Shedeur Sanders does next week. And Raiders, not a bad opponent to go up against your first full start. I would say at least this year. Um, okay, so next topic here. Look, fair warning for the rest of the show. We're going to be talking about a lot about our favorite teams. Your team's got to start playing better. Our teams are the main characters here. Like, what can we say? What
Yes,
can we
Fantastic.
sir.
do? What can we say? What can we do? But we're going to frame this next part of the discussion around another team, which is the Kansas City Chiefs. And we got to talk about the Kansas City Chiefs because something is going on over there that we have not seen go on over there in many, many years. What feels like
Thinking.
an eternity. And so they lost to the Broncos this week, and their mountain to climb to potentially win the division looks impossible to climb at this point, especially considering their division record. Against meaning their record against teams within their own division. They have lost to the Chargers and to the Broncos this year so far. And so, what I want to ask here is what is going on with the Chiefs. Like we've seen them down in the beginning of the year, then it looked like they were on the way back up. Now it looks like they're on the way back down again. They're roller coastering. They're 5-5. What is the deal? What is behind this?
Drew, you want to start? I mean, you got firsthand experience this weekend.
Yeah, I mean the Chiefs. What's funny is that everyone has kind of come around to. I won't say everyone, but like a lot of people have come around to the fact like, are the Chiefs gonna miss the playoffs? Are the Chiefs like maybe not that good? Which is the drum that Matt was beating on our show for the last year. And what's interesting is if you look at the numbers, they are not that different from last year's team. The
Hmm.
big difference is that last year they won every single one of their one score games. It was like
Yep.
11 or 12 and 0, something
Hmm.
like that. And this year they've lost all of them. They're 0 and 5. So like that's the difference between a Super Bowl contending team and a like might miss the playoffs team. And you could make the argument like, well, then maybe they are good. That kind of comes down to luck. But I would make the argument like they outperformed what they were playing last year, and we saw them get exposed in the Super Bowl. That being said, if they do sneak into the playoffs, I don't want to play them because it's Patrick Mahomes, it's Andy Reid, it's Steve Spagnuolo, it's the whole gang. They are tough. And this game, it wasn't like an easy game. It's not like the Broncos dominated, but the Chiefs just didn't look scary like the Chiefs we all have in our heads. These big, Patrick Mahomes has the ball in a tied game in the fourth quarter, you're going to lose. Um, it just didn't feel that way. And what's crazy is looking at their schedule now. So they're 5-5, 7 more games. Realistically, they have to win 5 out of 7 to make the playoffs even.
Hmm.
And that's not a guarantee. 5 does not guarantee them in because they are on the outside looking in. The Jaguars, Chargers, and Bills are the 3 wildcard teams that are in there right now. They've lost to all 3 of those teams.
Mm-hmm.
The division, unless the Broncos epically collapse, you're not going to win the division. So it's going to come down to these next 7 games, and 4 of these 7 games are Colts, Chargers, Broncos, and Texans. You know, Texans, whatever, they're not the best team in the world, but like these, it's not like they have a gimme schedule from here on out. So we're in a
Texans are the number one scoring defense. I mean, let's give the Texans defense some props. Like, they're not going to make that an easy game either.
right. Luckily for the Chiefs, all 4 of those games are at Arrowhead in Kansas City. But like I'm not gonna say they won't win 5 out of 7 because I'm not stupid enough to rule the Chiefs out loud. But it's gonna be really tough, and it's like a very realistic possibility that the Chiefs are not in the playoffs this year, and we can all march around Oz or whatever the Wicked Witch is dead.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, dude, I totally agree. The stat about the one score games, the one possession games, is one of the more staggering ones. And, not to get into the conspiracy theories, I'll briefly mention it and we'll move away. But, like, people talked about the fact that there were refs who were fired due to trying to, sway games a certain way for the Chiefs. You have to wonder. I mean, last year everyone joked about Taylor Swift and the black magic and, all the rituals that the Swifties were doing. Where has that magic gone? Who's to say? But this year, they're just not clutch. Like, that seems to be the missing factor for the Chiefs, which is rare. I mean, that's the one thing I think we would argue their kind of like semi-dynasty was built on was the clutchness of Patrick Mahomes, the clutchness of Kelsey, the clutchness of Spagnola in that defense. And so for them to be 0-5 this year in the one possession games is pretty crazy. And yeah, I'll go out on a limb and say it. This doesn't feel like a team that can win 5 out of 7 games. Um, I've been saying that they were going to miss playoffs. I thought, they were going to be on the outside looking in. I had them as my closest AFC contender looking in. And it's feeling like that might be the case this year. Like the AFC is very strong. And another thing you mentioned, they've lost to 5 out of the 7 playoff teams. that does not bode well when you're already climbing or like trying to climb into a spot because every team you have to pass has the tiebreaker. Like they've almost are at the point where playoffs is no longer in their control. Because even say they win out 7 games, that puts them at 12-5. Realistically, is that a wild card spot? Probably. But with all the tiebreakers that are there, if there's another team that has 12 wins, that bumps them down. Like it's just this cascading effect where it's like they really have like no margin for error moving forward. 1 to 2 losses pretty much eliminates them. Like it's kind of already playoffs for the Chiefs now. And because like you said, division's gone. They're not going to win the division. They've been basically swept in the division, I believe, outside of the Raiders game that they played.
Yeah, they still have
And so,
half their games left against those teams, but yeah.
sure, but it's like they've been losing, right? They've lost 3 in division already, and Jim Harbaugh says it as best as anybody. A division game is basically 2 wins or 2 losses.
Hmm.
So those stack up. Yeah, the Chiefs are not looking great either, and I can't wait for my "Told You So" dance in a few weeks.
Yeah, and
Few weeks.
I mean, you might not have to wait that long, depending on how some of these other teams start going. But uh, the only thing that I'll add there is, Matt mentioned it a little bit. It's the clutch element of it, right? Is part of it, and it's kind of the defense that has come up unclutch in these one score losses against the Bills, Eagles, Chargers, and Broncos. The game came down to needing a stop, and they didn't get it. Or not against the Bills, but against the Chargers, the Eagles, and the Broncos. The game came down to needing a stop, and they didn't get it. And it was the Jaguars, the other one. The other team ended the game with the ball, is what I'm trying to say there. And they were either able to bleed the clock down with a lead, or they were able to go down and score the game-winning field goal or touchdown. And so that's concerning for the Chiefs. If the offense isn't going to be able to blow teams out, this defense in the clutch moments can't really be trusted to get a stop at this point in the year. And that has not been something that's been true of the Chiefs in the last few years, certainly. And so, you know, it might be the thing that's starting to crumble the most, other than the offense being kind of uninspiring in the against these good teams too.
Well,
Yep.
also in this game, Mahomes had the ball, first down, 4 minutes left, tied game, and he went three and out. And that's credit to the Broncos defense, and of course I'm going to talk more about them when we get to fan corner. But like, it's all facets of the game for the Chiefs right now that just aren't looking like we thought.
Yep, no question.
Yep.
And so, yeah, these are definitely not looking like the Chiefs we're accustomed to seeing in the last decade or so. At least it feels like a decade. It might only be like, I don't know, 7 years or something like that, but round up. And so, definitely not they don't look quite like
Mahomes
that.
is in year 9, dude.
As a starter too,
I
like not just since because he
think
didn't start his first year, right?
I think this is his eighth season as a starter. I want to say.
Okay, even that, that seems longer than I thought. It's at least it's
he was a
almost as long as it
2017
feels.
draft.
Okay, so yeah, it's eight-ish,
Took over in
eight-ish seasons.
2018. So
Um, yeah, but yeah, so it feels like a long time, and it's been a long time since we've seen the Chiefs look like this beatable, and actually lose. Last year, in some games, they looked this beatable, but they ended up winning. And so, definitely a first for us. Let's roll right into fan corner and talk about the Broncos on the other side of that matchup. So Chiefs Broncos, this game was awesome. In that it was close, in that it was hard fought, in that it was a division game where you have one team on the up and the other team that was the number one team on the way potentially down. And so let's roll right into it. Talk about the Broncos in that matchup and what this win might mean for the Broncos, just generally.
Yeah, this was a massive win. I would venture to say this is the our biggest win like since winning the Super Bowl, maybe because like we haven't made the playoffs until last year since winning the Super Bowl, and there wasn't necessarily like that one game last year that really put us over or whatever. Um, this was a game where there's Bo Nix has had a lot of critics all year and deservedly so. I've been one of them. Uh, the Broncos have been winning anyways. The Chiefs look beatable, like we just talked about at length, but they're still the boogeyman to me. Like we like the only time we beat the Chiefs in the Mahomes era, I think, was when he didn't start. And so uh, this was a big game. It was circled for us. I'm sure it was big for them, even if they kind of can act above it because they've won so many Super Bowls and all that. Um, and like you said, hard fought. And the Broncos outplayed the Chiefs and they won. And Bo Nix outplayed Patrick Mahomes. And that is something that, you know, it's not like Bo Nix lit the world on fire, but he outplayed Mahomes and he really didn't play a bad game. It was one of his better games in the NFL. He made the big throws when he needed to on that game winning drive, which is what he's done all year. But like, this is, like you said, Dallas, a Chiefs team that we see them get those stops in these moments for the last several years. They didn't have an answer for it, and whether it was standing strong in the pocket and making the throw or scrambling and finding the open man after a little bit of time, it didn't really matter. Bo Nix was hitting his throws, moving the ball, moving the chains. It was cool to see. Special teams showed up. Defense showed up big, without Sertan, without Alex Singleton. So yeah, I mean that's as big of a win as we've had. It it doesn't secure the division for us because the Chargers are 2 games behind, but it pretty much means the Chiefs will not finish ahead of us unless, like I said, there's some kind of epic collapse that we don't foresee. Um, it was a really big win overall for me. It was the first time this year where I'm like, okay, we we can win the Super Bowl. I'm not saying we will win the Super Bowl, but we can do it. We beat the Eagles, we beat the Chiefs. We we don't play well against bad teams, but we play well enough to win. Um, and I'm looking around the league, and nobody is winning that pretty. A lot of the teams with a lot of wins are winning ugly games. Um, so especially I would say in the AFC, like there's no one that I'm sitting there like tremoring about. And so it's kind of a good feeling. I haven't it's unfamiliar. I haven't had it in 10 years, where I
Hmm.
felt pretty good going into a playoff run. Um, so I'm excited to see where it goes. I don't think it's Super Bowl or bust for me to feel happy about the year, but it would be a nice bonus if they could make a deep playoff run.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. That would be lovely. I'll ask you this, just to make sure I have this right. Pat Surtain went out against the Cowboys, right? In that game against the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Okay, so since then, the opponents have been the Texans, the Raiders, and the Chiefs. The defense has given up 15, 7, and 19. Phil, who's stepping up in the secondary to help make that possible?
Yeah, it's
Because
it's
I'm
a
asking because I don't
combination.
know.
Yeah, it's a combination of guys. I want to shout out the rookie first rounder, Jade Barron, that Matt was really high on out of the draft. He did a really good job when he was on Travis Kelsey this week, which wasn't the whole game, which is why Kelsey had a pretty good game. But um, he's doing a good job kind of in the slot and covering tight ends and stuff. And then this
Mhm.
this game it was McMillan who was all over the field. He had the clutch interception against Mahomes in the third quarter. He also had the sack that ended the Chiefs' try at a game winning drive late in the fourth on a corner blitz. Like he was all over the place making plays. Riley Moss is doing his thing. He's getting penalized a little too much, but like he's holding it down. And the biggest thing that helps, I think, any defensive back is our pass rush just doesn't give the quarterback time. Mahomes was getting the ball out as fast as he ever has in his career in this game, and early in the game he was able to move the ball a little bit, but that red zone defense that I believe is number one in the league this year locked in and wasn't giving up the touchdowns. Um, but yeah, I mean, shout out Nick Bonito, Jonathan Cooper, all these guys. I mean, we were on pace to like come close to the all-time sack record, which I wasn't even on my radar before this week. But yeah, the defense has just been playing great football. I know you guys are familiar with seeing that kind of thing from your teams, but as great as seeing like a really good offense is, and I've seen it. Peyton Manning was my quarterback for a spell. Uh, there's nothing quite as comforting as knowing your defense is locked down because if the offense doesn't have it, if they're just kind of putting the ball down the field or whatever, at least you know that the other team is not running up the score on you. You can always stay in the game, so it's
Yep.
nice.
Let me tell you, the
Yeah.
most comforting player I've ever experienced in my entire life ever was Aaron Donald. And it's because of that exact reason. We could be so bad, and I knew he could still accidentally win us a game.
Yeah. A good pass rush is not to be undervalued. I'll say that. I think it's definitely one of the biggest assets you can have because it makes everything look good on the defensive side of the ball if you can get after the quarterback, which is why that position of pass rusher is such a premium position. Sometimes the positions that are highly valued for a reason. Well, speaking of good defense, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about Rams versus Seahawks. So
Yeah.
this game ended in a Rams win 21-19. And, it was pretty much, I mean, if you listen to last week's show, um, the things that we had kind of highlighted kind of played out a bit. I think that as a pod, we were a little bit higher on the offenses than maybe actually played out. But the defenses played really good games. So let's talk a little bit about Rams Seahawks. Matt, take me through the game and then the aftermath from a Rams fan perspective here. And in this is sort of the Rams section of Fan Corner that is all of our section of Fan Corner. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, obviously we're coming off of a stretch where, Seahawks and Rams alike, both offenses looked unstoppable. It felt like we were scoring on every drive. And we had the defenses to lock it down afterwards. But it never felt like we were having these true tests for defenses of like, oh my God, this is a back and forth. This is a scrappy game. Like, can we lock down? Can we get the timely turnover? Can we force the 3-and-out? It was a lot of, hey, our offense is going to put up 20 something, 30 something points. Can our defense just limit the damage here? And this felt like the first true test for both of our defenses. And I think you saw that throughout the game. I mean, our offense was because of our defense. Like both of our early scoring drives were off of turnovers forced by the defense. We did not have these, 11 play, 80-yard drives that took up half a quarter. Our scoring happened because we were getting the ball within the 40-yard line, right? And um, on the reverse, the Rams have always under McVay tried to implement this bend don't break type of defense, and it seemed to work to perfection against the Seahawks this weekend. I mean, we gave up near 400 yards, and yet we only gave up one touchdown and only 19 points. That's pretty rare to give up that yardage total, but only get that amount of points. And so, I mean, start to finish, this game was stressful to say the least. Particularly so in my family's group chat a little bit. A lot of differing opinions on the outcomes of this game, but it overall I thought was actually a really good game and one where and we've talked about this a little bit off pod. it's one of the games where even in the loss, I think, either team would have been okay and been happy with the performance. And that's usually not the case, but it was like there to me there was a mutual respect of how good the Seahawks and the Rams have been playing. And for that game to be as close and competitive as it is or was, that bodes well for both teams. Like somebody has to take the loss, right? Like
Hmm.
somebody has to.
True, true.
Or you could
Unless
tie.
you're the Cowboys or the
We,
Packers, yeah. Unless you're the Cowboys and the Packers, then one of
but
you can
they
either win.
they tied because of how bad they are. Good teams don't tie. Let's be very clear here. Um,
Yeah.
Good teams don't tie. They win or lose, and that's just how I felt about this whole thing. I thought it was an awesome game. Obviously, I'm happy we won. A win is a win is a win. I was, watching the game. I was like, oh my God, our offense looks terrible. After the game, seeing that we still had many of our players grading top 10 at their position for the week, it made me realize that's how good Seattle's defense is. Like, I don't know if I had quite understood how good that you guys were. I knew that you guys were good, but, Stafford, I thought had maybe his worst game of the season, and he graded out top 10 in PFF. We see Puka, he has kind of a so-so game, graded out really high. Some of our offensive linemen, I mean, I felt like Stafford was under pressure. We couldn't get the run game going. They graded out well. So it was this weird scenario where it was like, okay, clearly what's being taken into account for is this is a great defense. So for us to do what we did was still good. Like that's how
Hmm.
good Seattle's defense is. So all in all, a great game. Obviously, I'm happy to have come out on top. It just means you're going to get us in the next one. Um, but honestly, maybe not. Stafford 6-0 against the Seahawks. I mean, maybe we're going to be your boogeyman.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to tip my side of this, but nothing really in that game gave me any reason to think that the Seahawks had any better of a chance in the next one than they did in this one. Um, but there's that part of it too. But there's a little bit extra for Rams fans this week. We can talk about it in Fan Corner right now. That's related to another team. We mentioned this at the beginning of the season. Or at least in our division previews at some point, I know we mentioned it, but the Rams fans are also watching the Falcons this year. And so something's gone down with the Falcons. And so talk to me about the Rams fan perspective on what's going on with the Falcons and why that's important for them.
Yeah, so people who may have not been paying attention to the draft, timeline may have missed that the Rams traded back, not too far, but they traded back into the second round. But with that draft, they didn't get a ton last year. But what they did was they traded for a future first. That first being from the Falcons. The Falcons used that pick to go up and get James Pierce, who's been good. Let's be very clear, he's been good. Um, but the Falcons season has started to crumble. And Michael Penix has a knee injury, and they are suspected it might be a partial to full ACL tear. They are not sure, but if that is the case, this will be his third torn ACL on the same knee. That's usually calling it career type of injury. Um, and then Drake London got hurt in the game. We don't know how long he's going to miss. This defense, which started off really well to begin the year, has kind of started falling off. There's a lot of things in Atlanta that are kind of starting to crumble, and all of a sudden the Rams are in a peculiar place where we're tied for the first seed. We're 8-2 right now, and people are saying we're Super Bowl favorites. People are saying there's all this chatter about us, and a lot of people don't realize right now we hold the seventh pick in the draft, and that has potential to be higher, um, as well as our own first round pick. So there's a lot of potential in this offseason for the Rams to have some exciting stuff. And at the same time, we're 8-2 and we're right there, playing for a championship this year. And with Stafford and McVay, I do believe, we are a Super Bowl or bust type of team. So it's It's where the Rams are. It's the expectations that the Rams have set publicly at this point. Um, they've made it known. We have a Stafford window. They're going to try and capitalize on the Stafford window, and we'll figure it out after.
Yeah. Yeah, well, there you go. So good things going on in Rams land this week. And on the Seahawks side of that game, from a fan perspective, I think so. The point, I'm watching this game, right? And there's a point in the game, I believe it was, let me see, I'm in the ESPN app looking at the drive by drive here. Um, so there's a point in the game where I'm I it clicked for me that my worst case scenario wasn't going to happen, which was score score is lopsided, right? The whole game there was a lot of chance for the score in this game to be really lopsided because Sam Darnold threw 4 interceptions. The Rams had so many chances at having the ball and scoring when they were already up, because they led for the whole game, right? Yeah, pretty much. Like once they
Correct.
scored, once there was a score, the Rams led the whole game. So they were already up. They're getting all these turnovers, and I'm like, oh my God, like the worst thing that could happen is for this game on the back of this to end up 30-12. And I'm just like, but four picks, that doesn't, and that never happens, and but there's nothing I can say because it happened. But there's a point in the game, and it was in the fourth quarter. The Seahawks, right after they scored their last touchdown, it's 18-21, and I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
the Rams don't score, a touchdown, 19-21. If they don't score a touchdown on this next drive, my worst fears will not be realized. And the Rams did not score on that next drive. They punted the ball away. They got one first down, but then didn't get another one. Um, and so they punted the ball away. And at that point, I did not care what happened. All I cared about was that it would not be a two-score win for the Rams, and that's all I cared about. And so that last drive for Seattle, where they were
Mm,
trying to get down the field and get into rain, I was like, do whatever you want. Like if the Seahawks win this game, the headline will be the Seahawks won, but Sam Darnold had 4 picks. If they lose, the headline will be Sam Darnold had 4 picks. It's really not going to be that much of a difference here for me. And so on this drive, do whatever you want, win or lose. I don't care. You didn't get blown out. That's awesome. Um, and so I really never thought I could feel this good after losing a game where the quarterback like pissed himself. Um, but I feel it's a mix of actually feeling like it didn't really matter that much because we played pretty, like the defense played well and the offense showed that they are capable, against a good defense, at least capable enough. Uh, uh, and it's relief too because I've talked about it on the show over the last few weeks. Winning, blowing out the Saints, blowing out the Texans, blowing out the Commanders doesn't tell me anything about how good you are. Um, and all I wanted to know was how good the Seahawks are. How good are they going to be when if they get to playoffs against teams that are going to also make the playoffs? And now I know they are a team that can reasonably be expected to win a playoff game if they make it. They are not ready to compete for the Super Bowl. They're just not as good as the Rams. That's fine. Last year, they won 10 games and didn't make the playoffs. This year, the improvement we were looking for was to make the playoffs and win a game. That's the improvement we're looking for. And it looks like they're a team that's capable of getting that for us. And so that's really nice. And it's just nice to know what to expect from them the rest of the way. And now I can kind of watch these games and relax a little bit, not dreading playing our first, playoff caliber team in a while. Last time they played a playoff caliber team, you could call it the Bucks, and the offense played really well in that game. Defense didn't play great. They were a little hurt. But that was all the way back in week 3 or 4 or whatever. And so now I don't have to worry about that. I know how good they are. I know who to expect them to beat and who to not expect them to beat, and it's just really nice. Um, the takeaways here: Darnold's going to have to figure out something else to do under pressure than throw the ball in the air. That's not good. You need to, it's kind of hard because the criticism on him, one of the criticisms on him his whole career has been he takes too many sacks. But buddy, take the sack. Like, come on. Like, know when it's good to take the sack and when not. Like when you're playing against the Rams, these guys who are really good on defense, maybe throwing it up against them is not the best idea. And so he's going to have to figure out something else to do, especially considering he might be under pressure a lot in the next few weeks because not only is their starting center out, who was out for the Rams game, but um, Grace Abel is probably going to miss a game or two, maybe three, maybe more. We don't really know. Um, and so we know that he avoided an ACL tear, which is great news. He'll be back at some point. They've not put him on IR, so we'll see how it turns out. But he's probably going to miss next week and the week after, I would guess. Um, but with the teams on the schedule, Titans, Falcons, Vikings are the next 3 weeks. I'm not really worried about the offense's ability to do work against those teams, and I'm not worried at all about the defense anymore. Like the defense can do anything. They can play anybody and make it a winnable game for the offense. And now that I've seen what they can do, against an offense like the Rams, I've seen it all now. I've seen what I need to see. So that's Seahawk perspective, at least my Seahawk perspective. I think it was, obviously it's never ideal to have that many turnovers in a game. The first two were frustrating. The last two were like, okay, like I guess this is just what's happening today. And so it kind of went like that for me. But um, yeah,
Let me step in real quick and we can move off this game. I'm gonna defend Sam for a second though. And no, this isn't my Sam bias. This is legitimate. Those four turnovers, yes. Every turnover, the quarterback typically has some form of blame. But let me just say, it's not like he just threw four picks. Two of those picks, he was in the motion of getting hit, or he was hit and the ball came out. They were, soft toss, whatever. And two of the other picks were tipped at the line and were off trajectory because of that. So it is one of those things like, you guys marched the ball up and down the field on us outside of those picks.
true, true.
And so I think there's something to be said about your offense can get that done. There's you just, right at the end of those plays is what really was killing it. And that's just a difference of, are you guys going to have to spend more, manpower chipping our edges, or, what do you guys need to do to kind of contain that pressure? Because if that pressure wasn't so consistent, I don't know if you know this, the Rams have three players in the top 10 for forced turnovers off of a pressure. Byron Young leads the league with nine, or I don't know if it was nine, but he leads the league. Jared Verse is number two, and Braden Fisk is like number eight. Like we have guys who, when they create pressure, it's not just that they result in sacks, but they result in turnovers, whether that be a thrown pick, a fumble, etc. Um, and that's really what happened to Sam. Like outside of the four turnover plays, he actually was like kind of dicing us up. And our red zone defense is always good because that's what Sean McVay prioritizes. So it was a good game again, and we can move off, but it was a good game.
Yep, 100%, 100%. After the four turnovers, they had a touchdown drive and then came about 5 yards away from putting themselves in a good position to win the game. 100%. Okay, so let's move on to predictions. Our last week predictions were just about Rams Seahawks score, and then we did an over under for touchdowns from the quarterbacks. None of us had 100%. I think I'll say I got the closest. My final score was 23-20, Rams win, and I went under 5.5 touchdowns for the quarterbacks. Good stuff on those predictions though. And so let's talk about this week. Drew, give us your prediction for this week.
Yeah, well, like everyone, I'm super excited for Browns Raiders, and I think that Miles Garrett, who has been like the bright spot for the Browns this year, he's been awesome. I think he's going to put up a huge game. And I'm going to predict that he sacks Geno Smith 4 times as the Raiders beat the Browns by double digits.
Whoa. Oh man.
Double
So
digits could mean
so
10.
so
It
you're
could be
right.
13-3, you know.
Yep. Yeah. Get him by double digits. Um, man. that
That
would
just blew my
that would
mind.
that would that would stink.
When I read that
But
earlier, I really was like, man, we were just bagging on Shedeur, and you're projecting like high scoring game here.
oh yeah, no, that's not what that means.
No, I am
That
not.
is not what that
I'm
means.
not.
But yeah, okay. So I mean, Miles Garrett having 4 sacks on Geno Smith. I watched only a little bit of the game last night, Monday Night Football, Cowboys Raiders. That might be possible. That might be possible. For sure. That Raiders offensive line just stinks. All right, so there's one, and Matt, give us your prediction for this week, if you would please.
Yeah, my prediction is in the Rams and Tampa Bay game this week. I think it's going to be the exact opposite of what just happened with us in Seattle. Ironically, it's what happened with you guys and Tampa Bay earlier in the season. I think that this is going to be just a boat race and a shootout. I think Baker, for some reason, is going to kind of cook against us. I think he just has that like skill set that for some reason will kill our team. Um, and knowing the Rams' luck, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Bucky Irving will all be back this week, and so we'll just be playing them all. But my prediction is that they are going to combine Baker and Stafford for over 800 yards of accounted for offense.
Wow. That would be huge. That would be huge. I have both of them
And
700
on my
again,
yard
yeah,
fantasy
game
that's
for
not
teams.
Baker.
that I was going to say that's not 400 each. That could be
Right,
700 and 100.
right. I have both of them on my fantasy team, and I am gonna start Matt Stafford, but
So,
so I hope he gets 600 of those 800. Um, and so yeah, that's great. Okay, so let's move on to our last segment of the show today, dingers and stingers. So this is our segment where we give you one good thing and one bad thing. The two of you will give us one each from the world of sports for the week, one dinger and one stinger. So let's start with the bad, and let's start with Drew. Give us your stinger for the week.
Yeah, I didn't bring this up during Fan Corner,
Mm,
but it's a real bummer. Our running back, the Broncos running back, J.K. Dobbins, is out for the year. He had been having a great season for us. He was a big part of our success, and then he got hurt against the Raiders, and turns out he needed surgery, and it's going to be it for him. I think it's like technically possible he could return at some point in the playoffs, but I'm not counting on it. And even if he did, it's like, okay, how rusty is he going to be, you know?
yeah.
So, rookie RJ Harvey, backups, Jaleel McLaughlin, like these guys got to step up now. Um, Run game never got going against the Chiefs, didn't end up mattering, but I think a run game is important. So hopefully other guys can step up, but yeah, it was a bummer to see.
yeah, I mean, just the injuries this year across the NFL continue to pile up, and that's one that the Broncos would like to certainly have in the lineup. So he'll be missed for sure. All right, Matt, let's hear your stinger for the week. What you got for us?
Yeah, my stinger is not nearly as detrimental. My fantasy teams be struggling. That's my stinger this week. It has been one of the toughest years I've had in a long time. I've gotten a lot of injuries. I've made a few bad trades, and we are just fighting and clawing to even sniff playoffs at this point in like 3 out of my 4 leagues. Um, doesn't feel good, man. I'm so used to winning at this point. Doesn't feel good. I've kind of done like a role reversal with Drew. Drew used to famously be the top scoring team and had 3 wins a year. That's what I feel like right now. I'm the top scoring team and I've been like struggling, and then there's Dallas.
Hey,
Still winning.
I'll
Broke even
trade.
this week, right?
I would trade my current situation of being a very low scoring team with 2 wins for being the highest scoring team with 3 wins right now.
You
But
know what? That's fair. Yeah, maybe I just got to shift my perspective.
Yeah, turn the to the sunny side here. Turn the perspective to the sunny side here.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. In the league we're all in together is likely that fourth league that you didn't include in that. You are a nice third place in that league this year so far. So, in the league we're all in together. I only know you as a tried and true winner in our league in the league we're in together. So that's all I see. Um, all right, so let's go dingers and let's talk about the good. So back to Drew. Give us your dinger for the week.
yeah, I'm gonna shift us to baseball for just a second. But today was the deadline for accepting or rejecting the qualifying offer, and didn't really matter to the Red Sox, you would think, because we didn't offer anyone the qualifying offer. But 4 guys accepted it, which is pretty crazy. I've never seen that many in one offseason accept it. So Brandon Woodruff with the Brewers, Gleyber Torres with the Tigers, Trent Grisham with the Yankees, and then I'm missing one, but uh,
Shota.
oh yeah, Shota Imanaga with the Cubs. Um, and you can kind of, you know, get really conspiratorial and think of reasons why these were all good moves for a team like the Red Sox, because Trent Grisham returning to the Yankees, I don't believe they wanted him to accept the qualifying offer, because I think
Mm,
they would have preferred to spend $22 million towards keeping Cody Bellinger, which they still could, don't get me wrong. But now they kind of have a too many outfielder situation because a couple of their top prospects are outfielders. And, I think they would have preferred Trent Grisham go on his way and try somewhere else. He's back after a career year. The Brewers might now have enough pitching with Woodruff returning that they're more inclined to trade Freddie Peralta. Obviously, we don't know. I would think the Red Sox would be in the mix for a team like that, or for a player like that. Uh, Imanaga locks up some money for the Cubs. Maybe they won't be as in on the pitching market as previously thought, or even the Bregman market, which brings me to the Tigers with Gleyber Torres, another team where I kind of think they hoped he didn't accept it. I kind of think the Tigers would have been happy to let Glaber leave and try to fill a lineup hole elsewhere with someone like maybe an Alex Bregman. Again, that doesn't preclude any of these teams from doing this other stuff. It just makes it line up a little bit nicer. So I'm going to read into it. It's early in the off season. It's time to dream big. I'm hoping that all these decisions work out well for specifically my favorite team.
It is dreaming season because, as the stove cranks on here, all the things that you can cook up are still possible until you actually start seeing some things lining up here. So, it's the time for dreams to be had, and maybe some of those dreams will come true for the Red Sox. Who knows? We'll keep everyone updated here on anything that happens with that because we'll have reactions to it for sure. So, all right, let's end on Matt's dinger for the week. What you got for us?
Yeah, mine was already kind of briefly mentioned, but the fact that the Rams are Super Bowl favorites and the Falcons are falling apart. I mean, these could not be happening at a more perfect time. They are seamlessly together. Yeah, yeah. I mean, wins and
I
loss
can't
for
do it
one
with my
team.
my left hand as well. It's a win-win, is what I'm trying to say.
It's a
Mhm.
win-win. The Rams are in a win-win right now because we're doing good. The Falcons are cheeks at this point. We're about to watch the noodle arm himself come back and play. The $100 million man, Kirk
Drew
Cousins.
Brees? Oh,
No.
sorry.
Oh.
Drew Brees is throwing lefty these days, dude. His arm is cooked. But yeah, we're about to see Kirk Cousins be rolled out there to start without Drake London. And so, I mean, the Kirk Cousins, Darnell Mooney led Falcons do not inspire hope for winning. And boy, oh boy, if the Rams get a top five pick this year and win a Super Bowl, that would just be something.
Yeah. The Seahawks were not Super Bowl favorites the year they had the Broncos first round pick, but they did make the playoffs that year and they had a high pick as well. So, coming from something close to this experience, at least close, I can tell you it feels really nice when that all works out. Hopefully
Yeah.
for the Rams, things will
And I don't
continue
even
to
want
go
to
their
get
way.
you started. For your heart, Dallas, I don't even want to get you started on the rumors that are floating around Rams world right now and what those picks could be or turn into. I want to let you enjoy this season.
I mean, look, whatever they turn into is whatever they turn into. I got no say in that. There's nothing I can do about it. Just bring in whoever you want, and then you will see what happens.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't, you know,
Good for you.
I didn't think the Seahawks had any chance to beat the Rams this year, and they haven't yet. And so, next year, why would I think that next year? If the Rams only get better, that's all right. What's the big deal? Um, you know,
I think that's a bad attitude to have because I think that as a fan, obviously we don't have any say or control, but like you have to think you do. You have to dream and hope
yeah,
and pray hard enough that your team will do well and get the right guys and that your opponents will not do that. So I think Dallas
yeah,
just admitted he's a big reason why the Rams have been successful.
I
yeah.
do usually blame Dallas for our success.
Yeah, it just seems that if I wish for something to happen, the opposite will happen. I think that football wise, I think I find that to be true. I wish for the Rams to do poorly. Well, all they've done is do well in the last few years. So, um, you know, I take what I can get. But, but yeah, so, for the Rams, look. May everything that needs to go your way. Go ahead and build the team that you want. We'll be here to frustrate you, along the way. So hopefully we can at least contribute to that. Um, all righty. Well, I think that'll do for this week's NFL episode of Dingers and Stingers. We appreciate you for listening and watching. You can subscribe to us here on YouTube. You can follow us on Instagram. You can listen to us on Spotify if you'd like to listen as well. Let us know in the comments, what you think about the Chiefs. Is it over? Is it not over? Let us know what you think about, Shedeur Sanders' debut and, what you think his odds are of ever being successful quarterback in this league. If you think he's got it, let us know why. We'd love to hear it. Share this video around, have fun with it. But until next week, thank you for watching, and we will see you then. Goodbye.